In this video, we're going to be covering dog training equipment. So first, what I want to begin with is the harness and the retractable lead. The harness that I suggest people to use, I really like this brand. This is Ruffwear. This is the front load harness by Ruffwear. They just make good equipment. And the purpose of a harness is for the dog to pull. Okay, so I use the harness and recommend my clients to use the harness if they're ever going to take their dog on a free walk where they're not looking for much from the dog, maybe a bit of recall here and there, but the dog is allowed to pull within reason. As far as free walk goes, when you are using the harness, you can also pair it with either a long line or a retractable lead. Retractable leads have pros and cons. I think the clearest pro would be you don't have to manage a long line. The cons, the downsides to the retractable leash is, one, it's not a very safe tool, especially if you're not experienced using the leash or are new to dogs in general. I have had clients dislocate their shoulders using this tool. The next tool that I want to talk about is the long line. So a long line takes a little bit of getting used to, but the reason we use the long line is for creating close to an off-leash experience as we can while still having the safety of the long line. So that's at least how I want you to think of it. Now with the slip lead, this is a leash and collar in one. I use this mostly as a quick tool, get hold of the dog and take him outside and keep it short and simple. But I like it because it's also super safe. I'm not connected to his flat collar, so when the dog adds a little bit of tension, that tension comes on, adds some pressure, and allows me to make the adjustments such that we get the pressure released. All right, I like anything as far as a tool goes around the neck that constricts around the dog's entire neck. This allows the pressure to be evenly distributed around the dog's neck, and there's a very active release component when we do turn the pressure off. And this is what we would use also for a transitional lead. And a transitional lead is kind of like a head halter. What we do is we put it on the dog's neck, and we create a bunch of slack. And when the slack is there, we come underneath, do a little figure eight here, and then this loop then goes over the dog's nose, like so. Right? And then of course we have your short leather leash. Everyone should have one. Not everybody goes home with the same type of collar. It kind of depends on your dog, and it depends on you as a handler. Some of these are more awkward than others. For example, the head halter is particularly challenging for people because the connection point is underneath the dog's chins. So this takes a little bit of getting used to and some training, but there are a lot of cases where I find this is the best tool for the dog. Typically, if you're getting one straight out of the box, it comes with this little safety clip here. I remove these safety clips at least during the learning phase of the head halter conditioning, and it just is one less piece to get in the way. This safety clip here, how it works is this connects to the dog's flat collar, all right? And then the leash would connect to this ring here, all right? So we have this connected to the flat collar, and what happens is sometimes, though hopefully not, dogs can get this tool off. So when they pop it off their head, at least we're still connected to the dog's collar. So this is an important piece that you should have on your dog when out in public, especially if you're still in the conditioning stage and the dog you don't trust him completely on this tool. Everyone should have a good flat collar. I like these thick ones because if I am gonna get a hold of the dog, I like to have that tension be distributed across as much of the surface area as I can. These thick ones do allow for that. This collar is, they're handmade from a company called Tactipup. They're really nice. Last but not least, well, we'll go over remote collars here in a minute, but as far as walking tools go, this is a prong collar. Is one of my favorite tools, not because of how scary it looks, but because of how safe it is and how versatile it is. When it's on the dog and we're adding tension, it's distributing that tension evenly around the dog's neck, not in the front, okay? If you happen to purchase a prong collar down the road and it's not a Hermspringer, or at least not this particular design, it must at least have two rings, right? This circle here and this circle here. If it's just a flat collar type design with prongs on it, all you're doing is you're when the dog begins to pull, we're just forcing that pressure into the front of their neck. We don't want that. We want pressure to be distributed evenly around the dog's neck. All right. Clicker. I only use this tool during the learning phase, or maybe to tune up some behavior that has regressed over time and needs a little bit of maintenance. This is a novel stimulus or a neutral stimulus unless it has been paired to a specific function. Okay, so you can't get a click out and start making noise with it and expect the dog to know what the heck it is. You have to define what the click means. And this is a jute tug, so you can get them made out of flax or leather or a number of other materials in different sizes. Ball and string, really nice for, again, play. The reason I like ball and string is you know, tennis balls and regular balls are fine if your dog already has a really defined out, but oftentimes when teaching out especially, I need something to get a hold of so that I'm not intruding too much in the dog's personal space when I am still teaching out, all right? The reason I have the Kong on here is because toys have their function. I think toys should really be introduced and delivered by you as the handler and shouldn't be given separate from you. But dogs, of course, can have other toys, but I just prefer them to be toys that are virtually non-destructive. If your dog doesn't tear up plush toys, then I'm fine with them using plush toys as well, but most dogs, especially puppies, will tear them up. Muzzles, the type of muzzles that I typically use that are a cheap but well-constructed option is Baskerville. Just be sure that when you purchase a Baskerville muzzle that you get one with a buckle snap, not a clasp, not a plastic clasp like this, but a buckle snap, more like what you would see on your belt. All right. PetSafe makes a really good treat pouch. I like the ones that have a spring mechanism, so you can leave the pouch open on your hip, and if the dog gets a little bit too pushy, you can snap it shut and it stays shut. So this is a regular treat pouch by PetSafe. And last thing I want to mention is this tool here is also by PetSafe. This is a treat and train. I believe they sell for retail $160 or so. This is what I use as a system for an indirect reward, introducing the indirect reward in training. They come with a cool little target stick and mount. How it works is when the dog is performing for you, and let's say, you know, he's 10 feet away from you and you manage to get a distance down from him. You say down, you're able to hit this button and it goes and it delivers food from, separate from you for the dog. It's cool because it's robotic and that tone always means food's coming within a specific time frame. And so dogs typically pick up that tone means food separate from the handler pretty quickly. I should mention remote collars. I use a lot of different types of remote collars, you guys. Most commonly, e-collar technologies, that's what this is. This is the ET300. Most of you will get this at the end of a training program, at least at the end of a 6-week training program. There are a lot of bells and whistles to this piece of equipment, you guys, and I'll have another video going over what those are. This should be a happy tool, I would argue. I think that, yes, it is technically an aversive tool, but the way that I prefer to use them is this is the tool that gets the dog freedom. And that wraps up all the equipment.